We would like to thank the sponsor of this episode, the largest system of higher education in the nation, the California Community Colleges.
Coming up in this episode of the Innovating Higher Ed podcast, Dr. Norma Jones welcomes Lynn Dickinson, author of How to Use ChatGPT and Other Large Language Models, as a teaching assistant, a guidebook for higher education faculty. Lynn shares her journey from initial apprehension to becoming an AI advocate in the classroom. Join us as we boldly explore new frontiers in educational innovation.
So I am here with AI expert, author, Lynn Dickinson, and we're going to talk about her AI journey.
Oh, man.
Isn't that cool?
That's a little scary. I don't know.
So I want to share the first time I saw you. You were giving a talk at the biggest lecture hall in Long Beach at Online Teaching Conference in 2024. I was one of the many in the audience thinking, holy wow, thank you for all these tips. Thank you for being so approachable. Thank you for being funny so that you're not making AI intimidating for us. I would love to share your journey. Where did you think about getting started? Because you started this having a book out. When did you start using AI?
Oh, man. Well, I know it came out November 21st, 2022. OpenAI released ChatGPT, and I think I discovered it around November 23rd or 24th. And by February, my students were turning in work written by it by February 2023. And I was like, oh, we got a game changer here. This is going to change everything about everything. And so I started pretty early. And the first day that I could sign up and pay for the, premium membership or whatever I did. So yeah, I just fell in love with it immediately.
And what were your students turning in? What did you see initially?
Initially, it was discussion posts that were clearly not written by the same human that had written them a week ago. But because I was on ChatGPT so much, because by then I had had dozens and dozens of conversations with it, I could just recognize the voice and tone that it tended to replicate at the time. Now it's a little harder because now it can modify its voice and tone, and now students can use it 2 or 3 different AIs to change the voice and tone. But back then it was really easy to spot if you knew how it spoke.
And you teach in what discipline again?
I teach in the Communication and Media Studies department at Santa Monica College.
What kind of discussion questions did you have, and what kind of responses that were you getting what was that opportunity there? Because, and the reason I'm asking this is a lot of faculty now may be afraid that instead of, when we start getting these ChatGPT, these AI generated responses, a lot of our initial reaction could be, oh no, another way of cheating.
It is interesting because if you give them a prompt and they just stick it in ChatGPT or another large language model. When I say ChatGPT, I really mean any of the large language models. But when you stick it in the same prompt in there and just turn in what it says, you could call that a violation of academic integrity for sure. And they're certainly not learning anything except how to work with ChatGPT. But it's possible to give them prompts and give them assignments that are more challenging and also integrate the use of AI, because students are going to need to know how to use this. They're graduating into a world where it's going to be expected that they know how to use it. And right now at this point, and I know this number is changing every 5 seconds, but right now at this point, something like 86% of students have used it for schoolwork, and only 22% of faculty have ever even tried it. And it's like, that's not okay. That's almost unethical to say we're educating them and the world is changing this fast and we're going, we'll look at it later, or they shouldn't use it, or that. No, it doesn't work like that. So yeah, I got kind of concerned about that. Yeah.
So from there, some faculty might initially just reject it. This is a way of cheating. Mm-hmm. How did you get into the mindset of, I'm going to learn about this to help my students and create this book to help other faculty? What was that mindset like for you?
Well, that's interesting. How I got into the mindset. I got to take you back a little ways into my past. This is the third wave I've surfed. The first wave was the internet, when I'm a lot older than than the internet. and when those when AOL first sent those discs out in the mail,
Yes.
and you had to log in using DOS commands and stuff, I looked at the first
Right
time I
there.
ever looked at that, I went, "Oh, this is going to change everything. I got to get paid to do this." And I was just coming out of grad school at the time. So I became the first ever editorial director at Hollywood.com. And then I moved into consulting, and I was an associate partner of content strategy and creation at a global consultancy where we had 63 of the Fortune 100 as our clients. So I was supervising writers in 18 countries before Zoom even existed, And so when I saw this AI, I went, "Oh, here's another game changer. This is awesome." And I immediately started talking to people about it. And I thought everybody in the world would be really excited about it. But I'm now working on a college campus, right? And I was surprised that people weren't. And one of our fellow faculty members at SMC also did professional development work up at the Peralta district at Laney College. And she invited me to be a speaker for their professional development day. And I had never spoken on it before, but she didn't, at the time, nobody knew anybody else. So I went to their professional development day, and then they had me back a few months later for a follow-up, a Q&A. And then the On-Course National Conference invited me to speak. And so it was just one thing after another. And what I found was that I started speaking a lot. I did universities in Kansas and Texas, and because everywhere that had adjuncts, the adjuncts would go back to their schools and say, "Hey, there's somebody that is speaking about this topic." And I found that the questions were often very similar, very much the same at every audience. And at first, there was a lot of pushback. A lot, people would yell at me. Some people would cry in the audience. It was just very, very much about just the fact that this thing exists and it shouldn't exist. It was just threatening. But now, after about 6 or 8 months of that, what was happening was people were starting to ask, "Well, wait, how do you do these things you say you can do?" And because I kept saying, "No, it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. You can do this, you can do that, you can do this." And people were going, "Well, how?" And so I got a call in December of last year saying, "Would you do our national conference in April?" And I said, "Sure." And they go, "Do you have a book? Because we want to send out emails." Well, like they said, 2 million emails promoting the event. And we want to say, "Keynote speaker, Lynn Dickinson, author of," fill in the blank. I go, "Give me a month." So I wrote the book, but it was based on all the questions that people were asking me at these events that I had already spoken at. So, and then when they started sending out emails about the book kind of took off, and now institutions are buying it. And I just got back from Thailand. I was speaking on it there. So it's all kind of going all over the place. And I'm stunned. I just thought everybody would be doing this by now. So I'm thrilled, but I'm also stunned.
And being this pioneer, you just said, "Give me a month to do a book."
Yeah.
Okay. The book process, typically, we're looking at years, right? To write the book, to have all these things have done. Can you kind of tell us about the process of creating this book? And you say, by Lynn Dickinson, right, with a little help from ChatGPT. Can you kind of walk us through that process of how you did that?
Yeah. So I thought about it for a long time. Then I stopped thinking about it and just let the answer come to me. It's like I stopped chasing the answer and it came to me. But what I did was I thought about all the ways that I was using it and did illustrations for people on here's what I do, here's how to do it. Here's where you go online, here's what you say to it, here's how you say it, here's why you say it that way, here's what to expect when you say it. Just very, very, very basic stuff. And I really thought it was going to be too basic. I honestly did think that people were going to turn their noses up at it. But I think the fact that it was so basic is what has helped a lot of people feel comfortable trying it. So I feel good about the ability to just say, "Hey, this gives you it just opens the door a little bit." Because once people use the book, they're going to think about a million ways to use it that aren't in the book. But this sort of breaks the ice for them.
For me, this is what I particularly enjoyed about your presentation, is the fact that you made it so accessible. And when new things happen, especially for teachers, right? Because we are experts in our fields. We know things. We
Subject
have
matter.
subject matter experts.
Yes.
We have letters behind our names, right?
We do.
Right behind
And
from
we get very
institution.
proud of them. Yes.
We're very proud of them. We have letters behind our names, and we are the experts. We are the sage on the stage at times, right? And we don't like to talk about this, but there's this thing called imposter syndrome. And we all feel it. It's that little, we kind of talk about it. What are some advice for faculty who maybe have felt like, I know AI's out there. I know that there's all these people like you who've been using it, who are experts. The boat has left the dock. I can't even see it on the horizon anymore. I'm afraid of jumping in. What advice do you have for teachers who are just starting or might be afraid of touching this technology?
Oh, that's a good question. I understand that concept of imposter syndrome, but that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is something new that is going to be a big sea change in the world. And anybody in their right mind would be hesitant to, like, if you've been teaching for 10, 20, 30 years, I'm kind of new to teaching, really. If you have been teaching for decades and all of a sudden the world you are teaching about changes, that's going to be very unsettling, very unsettling. So I think that if people are really hesitant to try it, they want to try it, they just don't know how to begin, I would say get the book because it walks you through it. It starts at, page 1, here's what you do. But also, I'm very confident from my own experience and from the experience of almost all the people that I'm hanging out with these days, all the AI people, is you're going to love it. It can make your life so much easier. It can make all your tasks and onerous jobs so much faster. And it can help your attention focus on your students more. And it can help you individualize your feedback more. And it can help you get creative with your assignments. And there's so much it can do. And it can save you so much time in doing it. So much time. Like I wrote the book in a month. And not just wrote it, got it edited, formatted internally, got a cover, published it. And that's all due to the kinds of technologies that are out there now and available to us that have never been available before. I can have worldwide distribution overnight for free. That's never been possible before. We are living in an amazing, amazing, amazing time. And it's exhilarating. And it is scary if you don't know what's coming and how you don't understand it. But as soon as you try it, you'll demystify it for yourself. And I guarantee you, once you've done that, it's like anything. It looks like a mountain until you climb it. And then after you climb it, it looks like a crack in the sidewalk that you just stepped over. It's so much easier than your mind is making it. You can do that. It's just like having a chat with a friend, only you type your part in, or you can, I guess, speak it in some apps. It's crazy how good it is.
With that in mind, may we talk about the class that you have coming up?
Oh,
yeah, at Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And what is it? How did it get launched? And how exciting is it? Can you tell us about that?
I'm getting excited. I'm still in little trepidation stages about it. Okay, so I'm in the Communication and Media Studies department. The chair of the Education department at SMC, Gary Huff, he created the course outline of record for a new course called Teaching in the Age of AI. And there is a subtitle, and I don't remember it. I'm sorry, Gary. But it's a course for educators, secondary and post-secondary educators, on how to use AI as a teaching tool and in the classroom. And once Gary created that, he got it through the curriculum committee. He actually ran the bureaucratic, race and got it through the curriculum committee, got it approved. It will be offered this fall. My book is listed as the textbook, and he's asked me to co-teach it with him. So, and it's for faculty, and we've already got faculty from other colleges enrolling. Yeah, you're raising your hand. You would not learn a thing in there because you use it so much, but it's going to be really geared from the beginning stages, like as a beginner. Step 1, come on in, and then we'll, get you. And it's an 8-week asynchronous online format. And you just enroll as a student at SMC. It's 3 credits. And I believe for a lot of people, they count as step advancement for their salary thing. I don't know about everybody or Every college is probably a little different.
So he is with which department?
He's in education.
So education,
Yeah.
you're in common media studies.
Yeah.
What do you think about AI? And I'm communication studies, right? We're similar fields.
Yeah.
And many of the people we are seeing are from fields outside of what we do. And what do you think about AI's potential? Let me back this up a bit. In academia, we talk about breaking silos, right? We talk about breaking that we don't stay within one discipline. We don't stay within one area.
Yeah.
What do you think about the potential, or even currently what AI can do to help us realize that dream?
That's a great question. And you know what? No one's ever asked me that one before. You're the first person to ask me that question. You get brownie points. I think AI has more potential than we can even possibly conceive of right now to do a lot of things. I do think right now it's still happening in silos in a lot of ways, but this class is going to be open to anyone in any discipline, and we're going to be collecting resources from the students, like, here, what AI do you use? How do you use it in your class? Those kinds of information, so that we can build a database of suggestions and information and make it available to, others, so that other people can. That's one thing that's really cool about AI, is that if it takes you 5 minutes to generate an hour lecture or an hour PowerPoint presentation, you're not nearly as reluctant to share it as you are if it took you weeks or months to put together, right? So I put about a year ago, actually more than a year ago now, I put together a presentation on what is AI and what are the pros and cons, and the basics. It was one of the first presentations on it, and I had slides and everything. And then our profession, and I did it for whoever I did it for. And then our professional development guy came along, and they go, "Oh, so and so is presenting on AI. Oh, I'm great. Does he want to use my slides? He can use them. He can have them." It's like, and he goes, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, it took me 10 minutes to create them. Absolutely, take them." And I do think that because what goes into creating things is going to take so much less time and effort, we're going to share more. Everybody's talking about OER now, and sharing resources. In this conference that we've been at recently, you and I, the Future Summit, everybody's talking about sharing what they've got. And I think that that's going to help. That's going to be the first, blurring of the silos. And we're at a conference right now, you and I, with administrators and faculty. And how often do you go to a faculty conference where there are vice presidents and
our chancellor's here?
Yeah, the chancellors.
Right.
Yeah. So, the silos are already starting to blur, and hopefully we won't cling to them, that hopefully we'll let them, dissolve.
Excellent. If we may, you touched on being invited to Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
And how exciting is that? This kingdom invited you to talk about AI usage and integration. What was that like? How cool was that?
It was a conference at a university put on by the Ministry of Education of Thailand, and it was an international conference. So there were about 1,500 faculty attendees from universities from about 12 Asian countries. So there was people from China and Japan and Korea and Australia. There was a guy from India. There was even a guy there from Brazil. It was like a lot of people from a lot of different countries. And when you had said that you saw me speak at OTC in Long Beach, that's when they approached me after that presentation. These two people came up and introduced themselves as the director and the deputy director from the Ministry of Education in Thailand, and would I come to Thailand in August, and this was the end of June. So would I come to Thailand in about 5 weeks and be a keynote speaker at their presentation, at their conference? And it took me overnight. I had to go back to the room and grow my comfort zone, because I was like, can we talk about this tomorrow? I didn't immediately go, yeah, because, flying to Thailand all by myself. But I did do it, and they treated me like an honored guest. It was amazing. I was a rock star for, I got my 15 minutes of fame in right there. Got to sign a lot of copies of the book. It's selling in Japan now really well. And it's very interesting how it unfolded. But it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It was just, wow. It was just fantastic. It was my first time in Asia ever. And I just Loved every minute of it. But interestingly enough, they were asking the same questions I get when I'm here. It was interesting. And this was the kind of conference where professors would bring a lot of their graduate students. And so while I'm talking about artificial intelligence, I'm seeing the professors stroke their chin and furrow their brow, and they're not so sure, And then I'm seeing the grad students grinning and nodding and going, yeah, so I know it's only going to be a few years and everybody will be doing this. Right now, it's just like, we've got to break that wall of resistance and then poof, it's done and nobody will need my book anymore.
Oh, well,
that's okay.
And what I enjoy about it, and what you call it is basic, right? But what I actually thought about just your talk and having seen snippets of your book is that it's accessible, right? It is accessible so that readers from other countries and non-English speakers can access this information. And that's why it is so useful and a very good way of getting started, especially when some people can feel like, that the boat, I can't even see it on the horizon. I'm still on this dock, right?
It's gone,
Yeah. And that's what, this was one of the reasons I honestly, when I heard you were coming here, it's like, oh my gosh, we must talk. Please let me record with you.
I'm honored to be here.
And I do want to point out, Lynn is our first guest.
Yay.
And that I was jumping up and down and texting for multiple days. Please, please, please. Lots of begging on my part.
There was a lot of text.
I know, right? and I appreciate this so much because I appreciate how you're so future focused in a way that is student centered. And I hear that.
Thank you for that observation. I have not thought of myself that way before, but when you say it, I go, yeah, yeah, I like that description of me. I'll take it.
And thank you so much for joining us. I
Thank
really,
you for
really
having
appreciate
me.
your
It's
time.
my first ever podcast.
I'm Dr. Norma Jones. Thank you for joining us on the Innovating Higher Ed podcast. We've got more great guests and conversations coming your way. So subscribe and join us for our next episode as we boldly explore new frontiers in educational innovation.